This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Michigan HIMSS webinar series of 2022. The title of this is Ease Password Frustration and Become NIST Compliant all at the same time. So we got a great session for you. I think security and passwords are frustration for everybody. And so hopefully you'll get a lot out of the presentation. Next slide, please. So for those of you that are not aware who HIMSS is, put a little couple slides in here. HIMSS, it's actually, the HIMSS organization is very small, but it's a global community of probably 100,000 people who are thought leaders in health information technology. And if you see, the HIMSS vision is to realize the full potential of every human everywhere. That's quite a lofty goal. And the mission is to reform the global health ecosystem through the power of information and technology. Next slide. This is our programs committee. Normally they would be the ones hosting this event right here. None of them are available for this. My name is Jerry Morin, and I'm the past president of the Michigan HIMSS chapter. And so you're stuck with me today. Next slide, please. I want to just give a shout out to our chapter sponsors. For most of you know that HIMSS is a not-for-profit volunteer-run organization. And in order to do things like pay for the licenses to run this and all the programming things that we do, and try to do as much of it as we can for free to make it readily available. Our sponsors help fund all this activity. So, a good shout out to all of our sponsors. And if you're a sponsor, a potential sponsor who's out there and is interested in sponsoring, let us know. We'd be happy to add your name to the list. Next slide. Okay, I'm gonna, without further ado, turn it over to our panelists. So I'm gonna let the panelists introduce themselves, and we'll roll right into the program. Take it over, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Jerry. And I work for the same company that Jerry does. I'm with Connection Enterprise. I am the enterprise account executive for Michigan and Ohio Healthcare. I've been working with the two other folks on our panel for some time. Ray Hall, much longer than Jamie Wallace. I've known Ray for, Ray, about 12 years now. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, my name's Ray Hall, and I'm a technical director at Covenant Healthcare. And, I manage everything from the mouse on the keyboard to the SAN in the data center.
All right, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie Wallace. I'm pumped to be here. Thank you for that. I have been at SafePass since day one. I'm very excited to tell you all about what we do and some other security tips.
That's a heavy Boston accent you have there, Jamie.
You're kidding, right?
Yeah. All right, next, please. All right, so we'd like to start this out with having a conversation with Ray Hall from Covenant Healthcare. He just introduced himself. I've been working with Ray, like I said, for 10 to 12 years. And what's interesting is over the past, I don't know, Ray, 3 or 4 years, you've been really working hard to identify any security holes, plugging those up, getting best of breed, but also, following your budget constraints or what have you. So I wanted you to kind of discuss what we are going to talk about today, which is the one piece that you seem to be missing in your overall security posture. So if you wouldn't mind getting started.
Sure. So again, my name's Ray Hall, and I think like many of you, back when WannaCry came out, it was kind of a wake-up call to IT managers across the country that you got to get better at patching. But WannaCry also showed the bad guys that there was a market and there was a target for just encrypting endpoints. And so at our organization, our security evolution has kind of been around the MITRE attack matrix. It's kind of when I describe that to like people who aren't technical, I always like to think of it as a chessboard with pieces on it. And you know, if to me, the power of security really lies in layers, and as many layers that you can put in front of the bad guy to frustrate them is far better than any single piece of software. And one of the layers we were trying to close the gap on, and at the same time, try to make things easier on the end users is around password management. You know, when we think about the MITRE attack index, valid accounts, you know, they're seen in initial access, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion. So you're covering a lot of columns with this. And at the same time, when WannaCry came out, I was getting my MBA, and I came across an article in the Wall Street Journal that said, we're making passwords too hard, and expiring passwords out every 90 days is it's not making you more secure. And I started to contemplate this, and of course I wanted to stop expiring passwords out, but I still wasn't comfortable with what the end users were allowed to do. Like many of you probably have on, you know, password complexity, minimum character length, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you can't stop an end user from coming up with a system or using a weak password. And so the question that I was grappling with over the last couple of years was, if we want to stop expiring passwords, how do I make sure that someone doesn't have a simple dictionary attack out there? And our evolution down this lane kind of took us to a third-party application that allowed us to check people's passwords against a list of known passwords. And we saw things like there's a high percentage of your end users who are using the password winter 2022 right now, or fall 2021 or summer 2021 right now. And we wanted to figure out a way to stop that. The other thing I would add is I got a buddy, he's a sales guy. He's a VP at a local manufacturer. And, you know, I was having a beer with him one day and I said, hey dude, what's your password? And he's like, yo bro, it's Diamond 64. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, you want to guess what my first password was? So Diamond 1. And I was asking myself, is he incrementing his password by 1, making his organization any safer? Does his technical, they've been breached too. Their exchange server got ransomware. And I'm like thinking to myself, does that make them feel any safer knowing that people are doing that? So we started looking for a way. What we wanted to get out of a tool was, we wanted the ability to actually have a live or an updated list of known bad passwords. And we came across this product, and what it could do is it could check a password when a user was changing their password against have I been pwned? So you've got 7 million known breached passwords. And then it also gave us a tool that would allow us to check a password and see which accounts are actively using passwords. So for example, one of the first things we did was we used a pwn check tool to see if we had any user IDs in our environment that were using passwords that were on a known breach list of haveibeenpwned.com. So that kind of insight kind of led us towards this product and using it to make sure that we know that our passwords aren't using known breach passwords. And if you're going to get password sprayed, they're not going to spray you with #ZY12 #364 #55. Like, they're not password spraying with you with that. They're password spraying you with password 1 or winter 2020 or something along that line. And so this product kind of helps fill a gap, add a layer of security to your security profile. So Dieter, anything that I missed there?
Well, actually, Ray, I'm a little bit upset with you because you promised me you weren't going to reveal my password of winter 2022.
Right.
Now I got to fix it.
Actually,
Winter 2023.
Yeah, exactly. I just got to jump ahead.
Right. They'll never guess that, Dieter.
No. Well, but I'll be honest. I mean, I am that bad user. Is that I thought I was really smart in figuring out a way to easily remember my password based on the criteria that my help desk is given me. But in our rehearsals of this thing, I've learned so much with what we're going to go into coming up here.
Well, I just want to say, if you've been emailing or educating your team or your organization to start using a passphrase or something other than a password, if you were to run a password check against your database, you might be surprised at how many people are ignoring your advice. So yeah, so.
All right, Ray, definitely appreciate it. If you don't mind though, please hang around in case we have any questions at the end.
Sure.
I think we'll definitely have some time. So next slide, please.
That's me.
That's you, Jamie.
That's me, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Ray. That was I don't really need to do much else really, because Ray's done a brilliant job of explaining that. So thank you for that. I'm going to now show you some pictures of England and London. It might come in handy a little bit later, but for anyone who hasn't been to London or England, these are typical things you might see. So our objective today is very simple. We just want everyone to learn one thing today. It doesn't matter if that's to help you be more secure at work or at home, but if we can do that, then SafePass, who I work for, will count today's webinar as a success. To start then, I'm going to show you a security tip, and I'm going to tell you a bit more later in the presentation about the product that Ray's using, SafePass and PwnCheck. And the security tips that I'm going to start with, some are password specific and some are not, but hopefully you'll get some use out of them for either work or home. Okay, let's go. So this is something I use every day. If you've got a Gmail account, you might not know it or you might know it, but if you put a plus, and we just use this example address as john.doe, if you put a plus after your last name, so john.doe plus at happyvacationexample.com, and then you add that plus, and then you put that at the Gmail, you can still subscribe and sign up to happyvacationexample.com, and you'll still get that email. It's also quite useful for filing. But then out of the blue, I get an email from coolhockey.com, which has been sent to the exact same address, the john.doe plus happy vacation. Now, at this point, you know that either they've been breached or the data is being sold. So I'd recommend you either close your account or perhaps change your password immediately. Okay, so what does SafePass.me do? We're a password policy enforcement tool. Some people will call that a password filter. We scan at creation or at any time, actually, 800 million passwords that are known to be breached or leaked. You can do it with PwnCheck as well, but that means you don't have to do a password reset, which is quite useful. And it's also useful because you can find out if there's any people using shared passwords or no password. And this helps you become NIST compliant. We install in no time at all, so it helps you become NIST compliant. NIST require you to be checking against the list of known breached and compromised passwords. And all this means is less tickets and less user frustration. So it's less user frustration for the users. It's less frustration for the people on the help desk. I think it's a stat somewhere that I've read that it's 60% of all calls are to do with passwords. So this is definitely something that's going to help people. Nothing to install on user workstations. So there's nothing to install, which is again a benefit for both the IT folks and both the users. And what's really cool about this, and I think unique in some cases, is that we're 100% offline. So there's nothing going to the cloud. There's not even a hash going to the cloud. So how can we turn frustration into happiness? Now, this lady is the most frustrated person I could find on the internet. She's in a company where they have a 30-day turnaround, and she's just got used to the password 30 days ago, and of course there's been a password change, and she's forgotten it, so she's having to log a lot of tickets to support, and this keeps going on. If you use the SafePass as your password policy enforcer, you can really ease that frustration with her, because for tech, it takes only 4 minutes to install on a domain controller, which is no time at all. And there's nothing to install on the workstation. We said that earlier, but that's also something that's good for both tech and for users. It only takes 1 second to scan over 800 million passwords that are known to be leaked and breached. So the user experience when a user is creating a password is great. There's nothing, no lag, there's no 5-minute delay or anything. And that's another way we can ease frustration. And we can also help your company with a passphrase policy, so that you can actually become stronger and better for security. And then you can turn up to be someone looking like this, which is a lot happier than the last lady, I think. So here's our random security tip number 2. Check your password. So home users can download our product for free. You can use it to check your passwords that you're already using because it's offline, or you can use it to check passwords you're going to use. It's 100% offline, and it's something that you can go to this URL, safepass.me/download, and download that for free. There is one note, is that we don't offer a support package for home users, but if you are stuck, you can reach out. My email is along with details towards the end of the presentation. And now we move on to bad password choices with Hannah. This is a classic example of a bad password choice, and this is to, reiterate what I was saying about people choosing bad password systems. All a user is trying to do is trying to get a system which works. So, Hannah chooses reception 1 with a capital R and a number 1, and then 30 days goes by, or it might be 60 days in your company. But then she chooses reception 2, and then reception 3, and then that's how you end up with Diamond 64, right?
Right.
So it meets the complexity requirements, but it's, I'm sure we can all agree that it's a pretty bad password. So while it's something that, it'll work, it's really bad, and hackers know that people come up with their own systems like reception 1, reception 2, vice president 1, vice president 2, doctor 1, doctor 2, doctor 22. If people come up with these systems, their own individual password systems, it weakens security. It's not good, and NIST advise against this. It's something that really is a big deal for that. We go to security tip number 3 here, and that's about passphrases. And this is what I love. It's just to prove that you can create a passphrase out of anything. So even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. That could be a passphrase. So here we go. Passphrase can make the password much stronger while making it harder to breach.
Jamie, you're breaking up.
Yeah, Jamie, I didn't know if it was just me, Jerry, but your audio's breaking up.
Oh, is it terrible? Do you want me to go back a slide?
Nope. Yeah, but now you're fine.
That slide is good.
Sorry, I don't know. It's evening time in England, so maybe a lot of people are using the internet. So sorry about that. Do let me know if that happens again, and we can go over anything which you may have missed. So do you remember the slide at the beginning with the all the English and London-based things? Let's put it to some use. So instead of you're thinking that crazy English guy, why is he doing that? We're going to be showing you some these three pictures here, which is passport, Big Ben, and fish and chips, if you remember those. Now, individually, they are probably bad passwords, but if you put them together, that makes a good, strong passphrase, and it's quite easy to remember, especially if your organization then goes to the, not changing the passwords. I think, Ray, you don't change the password for quite a while, do you? Or is it, I'm
We
probably
only-
not going to say that. Yeah.
We actually only change passwords if a password shows up on have I been pwned.
Excellent.
So we
Brilliant.
pwn check once a week and expire accounts that are pwn checked.
And they're so common, this is like nearly all of the customers we've got are using this now. So it's a really smart way of doing it. So on to security tip number 4. This is password managers. Now, I am a bit weird because I work for a security company doing just passwords. So I've been here since day one, and I've got a lot of passwords. So I've got over 1,200 passwords, and for me to remember 1,200 passwords, it's impossible. And I guess that a user like an IT user in a hospital, you might have like 100 or 200 yourselves, and again, it's quite a lot of passwords and a lot of information to remember. So you might want to ask if your IT department are using password managers, or have got plans to. But even in your private life, for your home PC, you should definitely give these a whirl. Just go to Google and search for password manager. There are loads to choose from. I personally use Dashlane. I think Dashlane is excellent, but you can choose any of them. Some of them are free, some of them are they cost for the premium version, but even the Dashlane, which the premium version of Dashlane, I think is only it's not cost prohibitive, and for the functionality it gives you, I think is pretty good. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about passwords that people use. This is the website, haveibeenpwned.com. You can, do this yourselves. Whoever's listening, you can check this out yourself if you want to. But I'm going to just put that on there now, and I go to the passwords tab. So in the hospitals now, I reckon that for sure that there is going to be passwords like Dr. 22. And that's been seen. So Dr. 22 is in the wild. 107 times it's been seen. And then we'll have another look at reception. Let's see what reception's like. Reception is still in the wild, but it doesn't matter if it's in the wild once or 100 times or 1,000 times or 100,000 times. Once it's out there, it's out there. So you need to protect against that. And Ray, I think you can use your hospital name if that's okay.
Well, I just want to say there's a lot of entities out there known as Covenant. So if someone has used Covenant as a password, it might be a church. So let's look at it anyways.
Yeah.
You don't mind? Are you sure before I press it?
Go ahead and press it. Fire away.
Wow, 75 times. Wow, what's going on? But like you say, there are a lot of places called Covenant and restrictive covenants and all sorts. But the point is that it doesn't matter. They only have to be lucky once, attackers. What's it like? One, I think it's the, it's later in the presentation, so I'll save it for that. So now I'm going to just go back to here, and I'm going to ask for a little bit of help from a glamorous assistant of mine. Is there a decent hunter there, please?
I am here, but I want to say that, Ray, I'm betting that Covenant 22 is your CEO's password.
No, actually, no.
No problem. All right, fire away, Jamie.
No worries. So, Disa, do you mind if I ask you 4 questions that we can
Go-
perhaps make a
go for it.
passphrase out?
Go
Right,
for it.
fantastic. So, where's your favorite holiday destination?
Well, we'll just go with Vegas because it's short.
All right, Vegas. Okay, real. What year did you get married?
Man, you really put me on the spot here. 1996.
Okay, cool. Let me just take a note of that too. And what's your favorite meal, Dieter, please?
Filet mignon, medium rare, with grilled mushrooms and onions with a light brown sauce.
Was that a steak? You mean?
Yeah, that's steak.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And what's your nice one? What's your favorite time of the year? What's your favorite season?
Spring.
Spring. Fantastic. Right. So just to point out to anyone that's listening that this is not real. Dieter's made those up. He got married in no, I won't say it. But but just for the so everyone knows, this is just for the demonstration. You know, you should never use a password or passphrase that you put somewhere online. But I'm going to go back to where we were at before, and I'm going to have a little look here. So here's Vegas 96, steak and spring. You take those words together. You can include the spaces, you know, you can put special characters there if you want, but spaces are pretty good as well. And there's no ponage found. Now, I won't go through it because, you know, I'll do one just to show you, but, you know, Vegas, because Vegas is not 8 characters, so it's not probably, you know, relevant, but, you know, just to show you the point that, you know, these words are pwned, and, you know, we've made a very secure passphrase out of a pwned password. So going back to this, 1 second, please, ladies and gents. So we're on to security tip number 5. I'm going to take a sip of water now. So here's our last random tip. It's the double blind trick. So password managers are great, but some people are worried about putting all of their passwords into a password manager. I get that, you know, it's you know, you've got all of the information, the keys to the kingdom, as it were, and you're putting them into a bit of software. So here's where the double blind method works. When you use the double blind method, you get a level of security. And what you can do is, if we take the password we used earlier with some special characters, a London cab, passport, Big Ben, you know, we can then store that in the password manager. But we're going to make a magic code or a word, and we're going to use 1994, and we're going to add this on the end. So in the password manager, you've got the London cab, passport, Big Ben, but in the actual password to access, it's London cab, passport, Big Ben plus 1994. Now that creates a completely different hash, and it gives you a level of security, some control, and some peace of mind. So I hope that's been useful. Now, I think this is where I say, why does this make you more secure and ease frustration? So when you go to making passphrases, when an organization puts in a password policy and they use passphrases, and they are using different words, so like Dieter, you know, we picked different words there that only Dieter would know. So only the user would know, but they're different. It's not like Walt Disney World Resort, Florida. You know, that's not a passphrase because everybody knows what comes after Walt, you know. But when they're different, so it's like, you know, Vegas, 96, steak, and spring, they're different spheres. It makes it really hard for an attacker to get, but really easy for Dieter or a user to remember. So when you stop password changes every 30, 60, 90, or whatever days it is, you get to the situation like Ray was describing earlier. They only then change your password when they find one, when they've scanned it with PwnCheck. Now that means that you can make a really long and secure passphrase and give it to a user, and a user's just not going to have, unless, you know, that they come up in the report, they're not going to have to change that passphrase. And with like 60% of people having to change their passwords, 60% of people having to log support calls and so on, you know, it's very frustrating for people. It's frustrating for the people on the support desk. What will you do with all the time saved, not having to log tickets with support every 30, 60, 90 days? And some trivia for you. Did you know that summer 22 has been leaked almost 1.4 million times? That word, summer 22, is in the wild and has been leaked 1.4 million times. That's amazing. All right, so take a screenshot if you want to. 0-HIMSS@safepass.me if you want to get through to me. And there's Dieter's contact details there. It's dieter.hunter@connection.com. And I'll leave that there for a second so that you can take a screenshot if you want to. And that's, if you've got any questions about anything. And 3, 2, 1, we'll go into the end. This is the end before I hand over to Jerry. That's all, folks. It's a big thank you from us to Dieter. He's our connection, for connection. It's also a big thank you to Michigan HIMSS chapter for making it possible. Ray Hall, that was ace. It was a great user account. It was really good to hear how using it is exactly how it should be used. So thank you. And last but not least, the attendees today. We hope, like we set out to at the beginning, we told you, we hope that you just learned one thing, no matter what it is. And just one final thought. The Verizon company, they did a survey, and I think that was in 2017. Don't quote me on that, but 83% of all breaches are down to poor passwords. So please don't let you be one of them. And I think this is where I then hand over to you.
So for those of you that have questions, we don't have a way to open up the mics, but if you put your questions in the chat, I'll moderate them and get them over to the team. So go ahead and post your questions there. There's a couple of questions in there already. Ray, when you implemented this covenant, how difficult was it to get going and then get user adoption?
So, we had been sending out emails telling people, hey, stop using passwords, start using passphrases. And so what we did was we installed SafePass on our domain controllers. We put the policies in place. And then we started to pwn check about 100 accounts a day. And on a Monday, we'd come in and we'd expire 100 accounts that had weak passwords, and the users would change their passwords, and then we'd see a little influx in the help desk. And we started off slow with 50 or 100 user accounts a day, and by the end I think they were doing 500. It's going to vary from organization to organization, but what we noticed is that over the life of my career at Covenant, the expiration times have changed. So we know when large numbers of people are going to expire based on policy changes over the year. So we avoided those times of the year that we get high volume of password reset requests, and we pretty much did it between August and November, and slowly rolled it in, and it went in pretty smoothly.
Okay, and kind of a related question then, how do you expire passwords today?
Okay, so there's a PowerShell script that we have, and we run it against our domain controller once a week. And if someone, let's say someone's using a password of Summer Fun 77, and it shows up on Have I Been Pwned, that one or two passwords, those one or two accounts will get expired out. And what we see is about one or two accounts a week that don't meet the password requirement, because that's the great thing about this product is as passwords become known to the bad guys, we get an update to it. And that's how and so now we just run pwn check once a week, and we get 2 or 3 accounts that don't meet that are bad passwords, and we expire them out. And the users, of course, are forced to, because that policy is in place on our domain controller, they have to set a new password that's not on the known bad guy list.
Okay, next question is how did the users take the experience, and are they more satisfied now than before? Oh
yeah, I will tell you guys, my CEO is constantly challenging me on the validity of expiring passwords out. he would call me out at meetings and be like, how is this making us safer? And I would literally sit there and be like, I don't know how to, someone else told me to do it this way. That's where I was at 5 years ago. And so the end user community likes it. They've got stronger passwords. And, what really surprised me was there's some pretty smart people out there that I talk to a lot and I explain passphrases to. They ended up on the PON checklist. I would like see them in meetings. I'd be like, dude, you're on the PON checklist. I thought we talked about this. And they're like, well, it's my kid's middle name. And I'm like, no, it's got to be multiple words. It can't just be a name and a number. Everyone knows that, right? It can't be William 32. It's got to be something more complex than that. But it's been good for us. And look, at the end of the day, I feel more secure because you would not change physical locks out every 90 days just because. You only change physical locks when you lose a key or you get divorced or you sell your house. But like we change locks for reasons, and passwords are ultimately locks. And we shouldn't be aggravating the user by handing them a new key every 90 days just because. It's not making us safer from ransomware. That's for sure.
Excellent analogy.
Next question is around passphrases, and most IT organizations require some sort of capital letters, special characters, etc. How do you incorporate the special characters into a passphrase, or is that no longer necessary?
Well, I think that ultimately is going to be a decision of each organization. I mean, when I've done my research before, like that article I mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, if you guys go out and do some research on this topic, in a perfect world, a 16-character password without special characters or a capital requirement or a number is really ideal. The key to the password is we want it to be unique. And your password policy is going to be a combination of what you can get your end users to do. And so for us, we're not 16 characters. We're still operating within the same framework of our password policy prior to implementing SafePass. But at the end of the day, yeah, they're not 16 characters. And yes, I still have complexity turned on. But I can tell you right now, the bad guys out there there's not one password in my environment that the bad guys have seen before. And so what you'll have to do is you'll have to figure out based on what your end users will let you get away with. If I was building a brand new hospital today, I'd probably do 16 characters and tell everyone to go pound sand. But I'm still operating in the framework because I've got 8,000 users that I got to educate on this too, and re-educating people on 16 characters was too far for me. But I am very comfortable though with our existing password policy, not expiring them out, knowing that the passwords we have are unique, or I shouldn't say unique. Of course, the user could duplicate a password between users by accident, but we know the bad guys haven't tried the password out yet.
Ray, I might have missed it, but do you have special character requirements?
We do.
You do.
Yeah, and we're not 16 characters either.
Right.
So right. we're still more in our, I would call our legacy policy in that regard. But the bottom line with passwords is we want uniqueness. We want something that's not predictable.
I did notice one of the passwords that Jamie threw out there with the Big Ben thing, it did have several special characters in there, Jerry, that, so Jamie, how do you address special characters? Recommended or?
It's down to the organization. I think that, if you go to a strength meter, that's no good because it's an online thing. You don't want to go down that road. I would say that it's down to the policy, which comes from the IT department about passwords. And I'd say that, spaces are better than nothing. And, sometimes special characters work, but it's down to the end user. Okay. Not much of an answer, I'm afraid.
Okay. We're down to our last question here. So if you got a question, get it in quickly here before we wrap up. Yeah, are there any security concerns with your passwords being checked by a third-party entity?
Oh yeah, That's a good question. The way that, and Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way this system works is it pulls the data down locally to the domain controller, and Active Directory is just questioning the local copy of the database. It's not actually sending the password over the internet to be checked against have I been pwned. It's all happening locally. And so it's just there's a lot of password managers out there that can intercept a password change request. This one operates locally. Jamie, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Just to say that, we're 100% offline. We take like you say, a copy of the database, and then we scan against that. We do it all locally. Not even a hash will leave the network. So it's pretty secure, and we've been chosen for just that reason alone many, many times.
And I just want to add to folks, I just want to add this, Jamie's got Pwn Check. I know I found third-party password checkers that can check the hash of your Active Directory database. Just for fun, go to your find a tool like that and run it against your Active Directory database and try, winter 2022, winter 2021, whatever your password expiration is. So for example, if you expire every 90 days, make it spring 22 or winter 2020, 21, 22. And just and put an exclamation point at the end. End users, when they like symbols, they tend to like that exclamation point a lot. Run that against your password database and ask yourself, am I comfortable with X percentage of my people using a password that Ray Hall told me to try on a webinar? Because if I know, bad guys know. And every day, it's all I can do not to drive to Toronto and fly to some country that doesn't extradite and try doing some of this stuff, because they're not coming at you with they're coming at you with some simple stuff. Like they get a list of your users' email accounts, and they're gonna just try winter 2022 against you. And then how many accounts are exposed that way? So that's kind of and I get it. You got MFA in place. That's great. We do too. Everyone should have MFA, but why even give them the welcome mat? Why even give them a door to it?
Okay. I think we're good here now for the questions. So thank you for those of you that submitted questions. So Jamie, can you give me the next slide?
Sure.
So once again, I want to first thank you for attending and you being involved with Michigan HIMSS, but also a big shout out to our sponsors who support the educational opportunities for the chapter. And, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, reach out to us. We'd be happy to have a chat with you about it. Next slide. So a big save the date. So a lot of people have been asking, when are you going to do in-person events? When are you going to do in-person events? We are planning right now for our first large-scale event in September 15th and 16th it's entitled Building Bridges to Better Health, our fall conference, Mission Point Resort on Mackinac Island. So save that date, put it on your calendar. It's going to be a great event, and we're happy to have people come back out and get together and be in in-person events. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Dieter, Ray, Jamie, for your insights today. And thank you all for supporting Michigan HIMSS. Take care.
Thanks much, everybody.